The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subaraya Productions.
Alright, guys.
You're starting off with so much energy.
The enthusiasm just oozing out of every pore of your body.
Well, the moment you told me what this goddamn subject was...
You act like we haven't done worse.
Doesn't mean I don't, doesn't mean I'm not dreading this at all.
But how is it bad? Today we're talking about...
Well, I can think of a few reasons.
The teaser showing up a Sentai or a writer versus them actually showing up in their show.
So, if that wasn't clear enough, we're talking about when a movie airs and the next writer or Sentai shows up.
Or a TV special.
Or a TV special and they show up. And how they act and present themselves as characters versus how they are in their main show proper.
Sort of like, I think only Ultraman doesn't do it that often. They did it with Geed randomly enough.
Oh, did they?
In Ultra Victory. He just shows up, blows up the monster, and leaves.
I don't remember that.
So,
Did we watch
let me ask you guys this. Do we like this as a concept?
Good God, no.
Yes, actually.
I don't mind it.
I hate it.
Why?
Focus on the other person.
Focus on the story you're telling.
Focus on the story you're telling. We are putting our story on hold to set something else up. And I hate that.
I think it works
from a story perspective, a character perspective, I really don't like it.
I think it works in some cases versus others because in some cases it actually is used to plug up plot holes. Like when I think it was when Gokaiger showed up.
Gokaiger's the biggest one.
Because there was a villain in Shinkenger that got away and we never found out what happened to him because apparently the Gokaigers killed him.
I don't think that's a plot hole.
But plot hole may have been the wrong term, but it answered some unanswered
That's
questions.
more of a hanging thread.
Yeah, they did fix the thread, and then they actually went back and explained why the Gokaigers were there in the first place in Gokaiger. Because it was tied into the Time Ranger and Kaku Ranger specials.
Mm-hmm.
But that is kind of like the best example of how it can work. Another one that I enjoyed was when Go Busters showed up and they beat up Bosco.
Stop! I did like that one. I like that one a lot, actually.
It depends on the context of this so-called tease.
Yeah.
Because if it's short and to the point, I give it a pass. The ones that I really hate are when they do it in Kamen Rider. Because that is when it's really just putting everything on hold to show up, to have this guy come up out of nowhere.
I feel this way about all of them. Almost every single one of these, it's some villain, whether it's the villain of this particular movie or an older villain just off to the side going, "Grr, those pesky good guys." And then they turn around and go, "What? Who are you?" And then they go, "Don't you know? I'm the next season." And, or, haven't you heard? I'm Sakamoto-kun, or whatever. And
I prefer...
I miss Sakamoto. I love that show.
I prefer the ones where they don't interact with the main team, or the current
Not
team.
so much that they interact with the main team, but they interact with the villain. They blow them up, and then...
It's a commercial.
And then they go, "We're sorry about that. Here is what you paid to see."
You hate the fact that it's a commercial.
I also don't like it because I feel like it takes away from our proper heroes for this particular season. Let them shine in their own movie. Give them the stuff to do. Don't bring in a new character and let them do it. If it's Forze's movie, let Forze and Meteor deal with the thread. We don't need to put the movie on hold and have a preview come in and do it for them.
I like that one though. I really like it when Wizard shows up.
I hate it when Wizard shows up because it gave us false promises.
I disagree completely.
I don't think it really gave us false promises.
It gave us a character that was much more interesting than what we got.
I also completely disagree.
Yeah, his character wasn't set.
He doesn't have a character.
He doesn't have a character.
He just shows up.
He just seems.
It's the same thing with Ghost. They show up and they beat the monster, and then that's it. They don't do anything aside from hold the movie up for 2 minutes.
I kind of disagree with that because the way they present themselves in that minute and a half of screen time can be vastly different than what we get. Ghost is a very good example. Ghost portrays himself in his fighting and in his line delivery as someone who's much more, I don't want to say outgoing, but much different than what he is in show proper.
at the end of Drive versus what we got in Ghost.
I think the reason they do that is to get you excited for what's coming next.
Get us excited, but don't lie to us, is my point.
Maybe they might not have even had it yet.
Probably haven't had the whole thing scripted out at that
point. They bring the suit actor in, they tell him to do this, it's like, well, we don't really have your character written out yet, so just say your lines this way.
The problem with that, and I get that's probably the case.
This is much more a problem in Rider than it is in Sentai.
Yeah, because like when Kyoryuger shows up, they're very similar to the characters we get in Kyoryuger proper.
I think Ghost Age is the biggest. I'm not going to say biggest outlier because it's still sort of them, but you could tell that they weren't set in stone yet. Gokaiger, they knew what they were doing.
Absolutely, Gokaiger knew what they were doing. Kyoryuger, they kind of knew what they were doing. Go Busters, they kind of knew what they were doing. When the Kyoryuger showed up, it's just King, which also that should have been a warning to us.
It was a warning to me.
Yeah, and then the rest show up and they're conversing with each other like, "Hey, sorry I'm late. I had work," which was very
beginning of that show.
Very active beginning of that show where they're like, "This is not what we do. I have a job."
The biggest thing I'll give for when Wizard shows up in the 4Z movie that his personality was pretty much still the same. It was just the fact that they vocoded the voice so hard they really auto-tuned the hell out of his voice.
Yeah,
when he came,
it doesn't sound like the actor.
No, it doesn't sound anything like.
Makes you wonder if he was even casted yet.
It's weird when they.
He might not have been
when they do it in a movie.
Well, he might have been, but maybe they hadn't fully decided on what direction they wanted to take the character yet.
Maybe, but it's like you also have some things like when X8 shows up in Ghost's movie, he really does show up out of nowhere. And the thing is, they bring in the
Gaim
in the Wizard special.
Yeah, when Gaim just comes in. It's just like, there's a terror in the sky. At least they show Coda. Then he jumps through.
Yeah.
But it's like with X8, it's like they start bringing in some of like the game bricks and some of that stuff. They bring in the effects from the show. X8 comes in and beats somebody up and then leaves. And that's pretty much all you end up getting from him. Bigger one, and I think this is the only time this has ever really happened. Genma shows up at the end of Ghost. And he fights Necrom and Spectre and beats the hell out of both of them. On a bike, mind you. Not a motorbike, just a bike. A neon-colored green and pink bike. And then he leaves.
I remember that now.
Build comes in, beats Peridot. Actually, I'll give Build a pass for that one because it leads up to their actual crossover movie. It sets up a plot for that crossover movie. So I'll give them something for actually planning that in advance.
Yeah, I think these can be done, but you have to be very careful with it on the execution. To not just make it a glorified commercial. And to make sure that it's integrated into the story enough where it can either, like with Gokaiger, cut off a loose thread or set up something in the future.
And they did both.
Kamen Rider just needs to get their shit together about it.
It really depends on how they do it. That's the main thing.
They haven't done it lately, have they?
They did it in Geo. And they did it in 01.
I don't remember Saber showing up. Or has his...
I don't think he showed up. I wouldn't... Well...
The 01 movie isn't
out yet. So, that was the thing.
So we don't know.
Yeah, that one we don't know. But it's like with Geo... I'll give it for both Zeo and for 01. When they did it in Zeo, they did it because of the way that Build worked and the fact that they can go to different universes. So Zeo could obviously show up, especially as, God of Time. That's pretty much exactly what he did. Like, there was a big rider war coming in. Zeo came in and killed everybody, which is sort of the plot of all Zeo. Then we go to 01. Time got messed up. So you end up having, like, the new Reiwa leader, 01. And that's really all they did with them. It's just odd how they end up doing it then. That's why I'll always say that I think Sentai does it on the whole better, if only because they have a better set of characterization for, let's show off these characters really quickly.
I think it's because they have more than one. They kind of have to.
Yeah.
They kind of have to make them different.
To distinguish them. Ninja showing up. The Zero just showing up randomly. We still don't know about that one. I think the Tokucast one when they showed up was absolutely god awful.
Oh, it was absolutely god awful.
That one was awful.
That
is the epitome of what you were talking about. Hey, who are you?
By the way, I can change colors.
with a terrible soundtrack, mind you.
Motherfucker.
The scoring for that scene was
I say,
terrible.
can I buy those at my local toy store?
Not yet!
Give it a few minutes.
But you sure can.
Anyway.
Oh no, beaten with a brand new toy!
The screen pauses, logos pop, available now by participating retailers.
What the fuck was the episode called? Power of Red and Power Rangers? Forever Red.
Oh, yeah.
You can make this, but we have to advertise our new toy.
Yeah. Here's a motorcycle, beats Super Terra. And you do.
Sometimes that's all you need is a new toy.
The Q Ranger one I thought was hilarious. If only because the villains got confused. Because there were just so many of them.
Oh no, there's more of them. Holy fuck, there's a lot more of them.
We're surrounded.
Yeah.
Luca didn't show up in their one because they didn't get a preview movie. And, the Ryu soldiers came in The Greatest Battle.
Okay. I think you just gave me a note for my adaptation. Balance is going to be Scottish. Tell me that wouldn't be hilarious.
It would be quite good. I greatly enjoy that, actually.
Okay. Glad to help.
But yeah, I think on the whole...
He's still going to be a thief, too. I'm the greatest thief in the world.
On the whole, I think that if you're going to do it, and I don't mind when they do it, simply because I sort of like the spectacle of seeing a new team.
Right.
Just make sure that things are set more in stone.
Yeah. I don't mind the fact... Because the whole entire point is to... Like, this is the final thing of this, but don't worry, get hyped for the next thing.
Yeah.
I get why they do it. I get it, but you can do it better.
Of course you can do it better. I would say find a more if you really feel like you have to do it, try and do it more organically. Don't just shove these people in for the sake of showing us what's coming next. Because to me that's what all of them are.
Yeah, I think if you're doing little small things like at the end of Forze, when the Queen sees Haruto put the ring on, and she's like, "Oh, I want that one." Instead of, although I love it because I love the Forza movie so goddamn much, but I love, Wizard showing up out of nowhere, however cool it may be. Because let's face it, it was cool.
And him just taking the name Kamen Rider for shits and giggles.
Yeah, and then beating all of the
comics. I'm
Kamen Rider Forza, Kamen Rider. I like the sound of that. I'm Kamen Rider Wizard. You can't just do that, but I just did.
And then he comes and just beats all the copies.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're like, you know what? I think that's a good way to just at least show off the powers and stuff. But doing a little minor thing...
I would rather you do that in the show.
I still like it.
Do it in their own show. Let Forza and Meteor take care of the copies. It's not like they're not strong enough to do it.
They do, but at least...
You're contriving a reason for them not to be able to win.
They do, but at least at that point, they were explicitly on the time limit.
Yeah, I was about to say...
So change the time limit, or make them do it faster, or don't have it in there.
I still like it. I just really like Wizard's first appearance.
The time limit gives stakes, and
it's like, all right, they got somewhere else to let this new guy.
And that's a legitimate concern of if there's a time limit, and if I'm the villain and I have to stall, I'm throwing waves of minions.
Which is exactly what they do.
What they were doing. But then, I understand it comes out of nowhere. But it makes sense to have somebody stay behind and take care of the waves of minions so that they can get to where they need to go and meet that time limit. So I agree with the setup of Wizard. I don't agree with I think he should have been maybe teased throughout the actual thing. Like maybe he's watching from afar. Like you show a hand with a ring on it watching Forze.
Yeah.
And then he shows up at the end to help. I think that might do a little bit more because then he's an actual character in the story.
Even at that point, he wouldn't be an actual character. He'd just be something you've seen.
But I mean, that's what it's essentially what we did when they showed Gokai Silver at the end of the 199 special.
Yeah, he just shows up and shoot and does
and the suit. But I'm just saying, integrate that through, have it be foreshadowed that there is a mysterious stranger.
Also, the fact that I think that the thing that helped that a little bit is the fact that the counter was really only at 198 until he showed up. And he's 199. Yeah, he's number 199.
Oh, I thought he was 200.
He's number 199. Red Buster's 200.
Good for him. But I like I said, I think these can be done
Better.
well. Can be done.
But again, like Gokai Silver showing up at the end, that's
10 seconds at the end.
It's 5 seconds. It's less than that, and it's a tease. They're not and it's during the credits. It's a credits tease. It's not them putting the movie on hold for 10 minutes so that we can showcase a new toy.
Ooh.
They actually going to do that with secondary writers now.
I have an idea then. What if instead, I'm going back to the Forza. What if the monster summons minions that don't show up? And then at the end, it shows all the minions on the ground and Wizard just like putting the sword away and just de-hensioning.
That's better.
See, that I can get behind.
That I like a little bit more.
That I can get behind. That would be cool, and
If at the end we see him like put his sword away or flash the ring, or like you see him from afar, it's like, what? Who did this?
Well, I mean, they can still show the suit off.
Because they do that a lot more when they're introducing some random things.
Mm-hmm.
Meteor showing up at the end of Megamax.
Mm-hmm.
In the Wizard Guy movie, the Energy Riders showing up. And they're only on screen for a second, although I think Meteor actually ends up fighting a couple people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they'll occasionally show a secondary rider, or just, I guess, the next set of riders, just for a second. They don't really ever show them really doing much.
Mm-hmm.
Just a new suit to show off and show, hey, this is coming next.
Yeah.
And I think it was actually the week after like Megamax came out that Meteor showed up.
I think that idea of like having like a monster like from the movie not show up for some reason, and then we see that he got his ass kicked by the next Kamen Rider is kind of pretty much what happened to Bosco. Bosco is like, you know what, I'm done, peace out, leave, and then gets his ass kicked by the Go Busters.
I still love when they show up so much. Because I just love Blue and Yellow just being beside Bosco and him not knowing what to do.
But I think in that case it works because it's not really taking the plot off.
No.
It's honestly, in my opinion, it's making the plot better. And
Yeah, because at least in the Go Busters case, Bosco helps the Gokaijin get to Gavin. And then says, all right, I'm going to go steal stuff from your ship. And then the Go Busters actually come up to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
The Go Kaijus have no way of being there, at least. So at least for them showing up to make sure that Bosco doesn't get what he wants.
And from their perspective, it's like, oh, that's a monster that's trying to steal shit. Let's go kick his ass.
And they do. And they succeed.
And luckily, Bosco didn't have a chicken.
Yeah, thank goodness.
But yeah, let us know what you think about these. Do you like them? Do you dislike them? Do you have no feelings about them?
Follow us on all the things. Let us know what other subjects you would like us to cover on Toku Talk.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.